All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to your Purple Friends podcast.
Welcome.
I'm your co-host, Jo.
I'm your Jo&Co.
And that's always going to confuse me.
Yes.
But welcome, everyone. We've missed you.
Yeah. We've had a busy couple weeks.
Too busy.
Yeah. But we're here. We're here to bring you a podcast that we talked about last episode. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about collective trauma, which is something that we're all going through, as you can tell from my voice.
Man, you just went out and said it. You didn't leave them hanging at all.
No. And I tell you why. It's because this episode is about collective trauma, and I don't like to confuse people about trauma.
Fair. But before that, we gotta
do some little gratefuls.
We gotta do some little gratefuls.
I actually have an extra one in case things are like really heavy later. So
I also have an extra one.
Cool. Maybe we can do a second.
That's so funny.
Later.
Okay. You first, me first.
Me first.
You first.
Me,
you
me,
first.
you, me, you, me.
You.
Okay. Me. What if I take yours?
It's not mine.
Okay, cool. Here's something that I'm really grateful for right now. We have just started what may be our last, for a very long time, our last rewatch of Stranger Things, because we're very busy. So we want to watch the whole series before the new season comes out.
Oh my gosh. It has been wonderful. I love that show. Mm-hmm. I love watching it with you.
Yeah.
I love that show.
We're big fans of it. But yeah, it's been great because it's been so long since we've gone through the whole series. I feel like we haven't really done it.
No, we did it like last year, and we're like, do you think they're going to finish season 5 by the time we're done watching?
Yeah, we were joking. but yeah, it's been, this time for real, season 5, the final season will be out by the time we're done rewatching 1 through 4.
I'm so excited.
Yes. So, if you like Stranger Things, it's getting to be about that time.
Yeah, you guys should maybe start your rewatches now.
Yeah,
we built in a lot of empty
a lot of extra
space
time
because
you're not down to 1 episode a day yet. But if you don't act on this,
you
might be.
Yeah, unless you're like me and like to binge watch.
Yeah,
and have the time to do it.
You can just do like a whole season every day.
One day. Yeah. Okay.
What's yours, buddy?
Mine is I'm so grateful for our nieces and nephews. Oh. Basically, all of them. All of them had birthdays in the last month.
Yep, that's true.
Basically, all of them.
Yeah.
And we're celebrating the last of them now. Tomorrow's his actual birthday. He'll be 2. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so grateful for them. All of them. All of our nieces, all of our nephews. We have 4.
Yeah, we don't have that many, but
no,
we love them all so much.
We love them so much.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking a lot about them. And happy that they're in our life. And they're such good cousins to Amari.
Yeah, totally. Okay, buddy. The time has come. Let's everybody take a deep breath. Why am I so apprehensive? I'm terrified suddenly.
What? Why?
I don't know. Hold on. Let me not be terrified for a second. Okay, I'm good.
I'm excited, but also, you know what? It is a heavy episode. But we make things not that heavy.
Yeah.
And even just simply talking about it means that it will be less heavy.
Yeah, it'll help.
It will help.
It'll help us for sure.
Yes, it does help.
Yeah. So we're talking about collective trauma.
Yep.
Should we start with what it is?
Yeah.
Me? Or
me.
You?
You? No, me. So the definition that we will be working with is collective trauma is a traumatic event or series of events that impact a large group of people, a community, or an entire society, leading to a shared, lasting psychological wound. This is pretty distinct from like individual trauma because the shared nature of the experience and its meaning become part of the group's identity and memory. Mm-hmm. So I, honestly, this is something I say, especially now that I think many of us have experienced some form of collective trauma. Mm-hmm. I usually categorize it as saying we're all carrying a little extra in our bags, you know, and that is truly what it feels like. It's like the last time I think this happened, I'm thinking of COVID, where it impacted everybody.
It was just very hard on all of us.
In some way, shape, or form, everyone was carrying a little bit of this in their bags. And so this is just us recognizing that, understanding it a little bit more, getting curious about it. As I was like prepping for this, I was also thinking, I'm like, how is this, or is this different from like generational trauma?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
What? Oh my gosh.
I just had an idea that we should do a whole episode about that, like right before we came down to record.
Yeah. And I think there's some overlap. I think probably collective trauma can contribute to generational trauma.
Yeah. And I'm sure that generational trauma can be categorized broadly underneath collective trauma.
Yes, it is a form of.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, they're very intertwined, and I think anytime we experience trauma, we recognize that our body and our nervous system has responses to it.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about it, including debunking some misconceptions.
Yes. Let's talk about some of those misconceptions. Number one being, it's just history, just part of history.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, it is also part of history, but it obviously goes deeper than that.
Yes. There's this common misconception that like it's just something that happened in the past and it's not really relevant anymore. But that's not really true. I mean, collective trauma is often intergenerational. Getting back to that generational trauma we talked about, it goes between generations. It gets passed down through families and cultural narratives and continues to affect people today. So like we talked about some really broad, like a broad example, like COVID, or like, just like what we're all currently going through in 2025.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that later because it's like basically the number one thing that's talked about in therapy these days, at least for me personally in my personal practice. I want to say like 90 to 95% of my clients at some point in their session will talk about what is going, like current events. So yeah, it is history, but like I said, our nervous system remembers it. It's not kind of frozen in time by any means.
Yeah, and there's like lots more types of collective trauma than just like we as a country went through a thing. There's also like we as a race have gone through this thing. You know, we
As a gender.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's what we're getting at is that like it's not just these big events, like although they do count, right? Like I think of like Hurricane Katrina or like 9/11. Like these are like
huge.
Huge.
I mean, especially for our generation. We were born in the early 90s. Like that stuff happened
they're
when
like
we were
life
children.
defining.
Yeah.
And like for our families and even in like our pop culture, you know, like they live it lives in there too. So part of me, like, dare I say, like, not necessarily feels grateful, but like there is this sense of universality or community that can come from collective trauma.
Yeah, it is kind of like a silver lining.
Yeah, I mean
that's a big treatment for trauma is community.
Yeah, which we'll dive into more.
So we talk about like a couple of specific examples. If we look at this through an intersectional lens, which is basically the only way you can view collective trauma, because you have to look at different groups and different, different cross sections of the population. We want to talk about a lot of different examples and as many as we can think of, honestly. Well, not as many as we can think of, but like some really broad ones that we just know
I think
that
are
like,
applicable.
Yeah, they're applicable and they're the kind of things that everyone should be aware of.
Yes, agreed. So should we talk maybe about like, for example, the collective trauma of women?
Yes. You're looking at me like I'm going to talk about the collective. I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, I appreciate that. But yes, collective trauma of women, right? Women may experience a shared psychological impact of systemic sexism, sexual assault, gender-based violence. Not to plug, but like we're going to be doing a few women in business expos in the coming months. And like, again, like these are shared experiences. This is not an uncommon thing.
Right.
So this can manifest and as like a constant state of hypervigilance, pervasive sense of mistrust, internalization of fear of being unsafe in public spaces. I mean, I think about, I don't think there's a woman that like doesn't walk out at night alone and like are forced to like hold their keys in a certain way or like run to their car or like I work late at night and I'm usually the last person in the parking lot, and you better believe it's kind of a scary situation. It's like a 20-foot walk from the door to my car. But it's constantly on my mind. And I know that that's a shared experience. I know I'm not the only person, the only woman who feels that way. But yeah, this collective grief and anger surrounding violence against women, regardless of whether you've personally experienced, is kind of key to a kind of key component to this. Is that like we can all kind of relate to it and understand that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that was totally highlighted this past year with like the bear versus the man.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Debate
for
on
anyone
social
who doesn't
media.
know about it, please explain that.
So on social media, whether TikTok, Instagram, whatever, this past year there was this huge debate on whether or not you would prefer to encounter a man alone in the woods, or if you would rather, encounter a bear alone in the woods. And most women, or like I think the debate was that like more women chose to encounter a bear.
Yeah.
That was less dangerous to them than encountering a man. And I think that speaks so much to the women's experience that like, I mean, if we busted out the statistics, which I don't have, but I know are...
they definitely back you up.
They definitely back me up. Women's deaths, I like a huge percentage are accounted by violence.
Yes.
Right? Like direct violence towards women. So, and then when you look at the statistic for like how many times have women died due to bear attacks, it's like tiny.
Yeah.
So that's why women pick the bear, right? There are these systemic issues, beliefs, deeply seated beliefs that perpetuate that women are less than or objectified, that lead to more violence, lead to this sense of insecurity and distrust, not feeling safe. So yeah, that's I think a very important example because it deals with like literally 50% of our population, regardless of where you are.
Well, actually, if you think about it, it deals with 100% of our population because, I mean, how many women can say that like a strange man has invaded their space for inappropriate reasons, like ever in your life? If it's more than once, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that things are. Like, and I know that we all feel it, that it's gotten significantly worse in the last 10 months, hasn't it? People have gotten a lot bolder with their garbage, haven't they?
Yes. And also like, I think about an experience that happened to me. And I remember when I told you about it, I didn't even view it as bad or as violence against me. And it wasn't until you were pissed off and you're like, what the hell, that happened, that I realized like,
Can you explain the story?
yeah. In my 20s, I was seeing this person and like we weren't dating or anything. Like we had maybe expressed like a little interest. And he asked for a kiss or like leaned in for a kiss, and I didn't want to kiss him. So I turned my cheek and he slapped me on the face.
Whew. How old were you?
21,
An adult.
22.
The person doing it to you was an adult.
Oh, and the person was way older than I was.
Yeah.
Like I think they were 27.
That's something that people can go to jail for, is physically striking another adult.
And like, I was like very shocked, like just stunned. But like, again, I didn't like view it as like, I didn't like, damn, like this guy can't handle rejection or something, or like he was, I don't know. So like, I think what I'm saying is that like, it's important to educate, because then we can recognize, and like, I didn't recognize that as anything out of the ordinary, or like strange. And I think a lot of the times women are conditioned or socialized to think like, be polite, it's fine, be pleasant, be,
the way out of this uncomfortable situation is through appeasement.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly right. And I think I definitely went into that mode when that happened, and I know lots of other women do. And I do think that that's an open door for anyone to use and manipulate against women.
Whew.
Are you angry now again? Just remembering.
For remembering that story. Sorry.
Yeah, your arms are like up on your hips.
I'm like so angry that somebody would do that. Okay. Let's move to another intersection.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the collective trauma of minorities in America.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, oh my God, look at my hand.
It's like shaking.
Yeah, I should have eaten something. Okay, so when we're talking about minorities, I want to be really broad because there's more than just racial and ethnic minorities. There's also religious minorities. There are ability minorities. There's tons and tons of different minorities, okay? But right now, let's talk about racial minorities. There is a shared psychological toll of systemic racism, the impact of like repeated microaggressions daily, constantly. Like, oh my gosh, let me just get through this before I tell them this story. I wasn't even planning on telling that story.
But please do.
But like microaggressions, always police brutality, constantly blasted into our faces without repercussions, and just constant generation after generation of being unable to build generational wealth because generational wealth is targeted. It's a trauma that's rooted in a history of oppression, obviously, especially like talking about Black adults in America, higher rates of chronic stress, higher rates of mental health conditions. For example, Black adults in the U.S. are more likely than white adults to report persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and worthlessness. And yet they still have less access
to those
to services.
Resources. Yep.
Really quick, just to talk about microaggressions. They happen all the time. They happen constantly all the time. Just the other day, we were at our dispensary. I was at my dispensary, and we have a friend who works there. We have friends with everyone who works there, but this guy comes out of the store as I'm walking in and like showing my medical card, and he says to our friend, who I won't name, but he says, "You look just like you're an identical twin of this girl I went to high school with, but you're Black." This is like a 60-year-old white guy. "You look exactly like this other girl I know, except you're Black. Everything is identical, but you're Black." And he just kept saying it over and over again. And she just like smiled and was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." And until he left, and we just stared at each other with our mouths open, like, what the hell did we just see? And I didn't even know what to say. Just like, I just reported that guy, and like, it's just ridiculous.
Which he is now banned from
we did get follow up that he was banned.
But I even just hearing that story, like our friend who
literally the sweetest person in the universe.
And like again, like operated out of a place of appeasement, right? This problem is going to go away if you're just nice about it. And like,
because you don't have any choice, especially when you're at work.
And also like, can we talk about the layered intersectionality this person,
Please.
you know, like Black women, especially, you know, it carries so much of like, that kind of treatment, microaggressions, discrimination, judgment, criticism, openly.
Yeah. It's just wild. But anyway, I mean, that's a relatively minor thing. Like, that's so minor that, like, I'm sure that there are white people who could listen to that and be like, I don't even understand what's wrong with that.
Right. And that's the thing, though. Like, that's what microaggressions are, is that they're minor.
They're so minor.
They're minor
that
they're kind of...
They can be swept under the rug.
Exactly. But we're trying to communicate that is not okay.
No,
that kind of behavior is not okay and shouldn't be tolerated.
We need to drop the micro. It's just aggression.
Yeah. I did want to speak on that too, because like right now in the age of like social media where everyone is recording everything and should be encouraged to record everything, we're also seeing everything. And this is something that I've talked about a lot with this topic of like just collective trauma, is that like, I don't know that our nervous systems were built to carry the weight of the world.
It's true.
Constantly. And like, I don't know, especially now with like what's going on with ICE. I'm a Latina, my family, her first gen immigrants, like seeing so many people who look like me, who talk like me, like even just witnessing it is part of that collective trauma.
Yep.
Again, like we see it so much all the time. And that's why I say like everyone is carrying a little extra these days, because you can't really get away from it. And I don't know, God, like I'm sure like everyone feels torn of like, should we get away from it? Are we responsible or obligated to like witness this? And like, yes and no, you know? And so we'll talk more about the nuances of that and how to protect yourself and how to balance that, because it is a balance. But anyway.
Just another thing to add to the discussion of like minority is also religious minority. If I could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, please.
So I'm Jewish. I've been open about that on the podcast plenty of times. It's a really complicated time to be Jewish in America right now because I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. So on one side, you have people who are being militant, trying to find people who are being quote unquote anti-Semitic. And on the other side, you have, well, let's go back to that first side. They have changed the definition of anti-Semitic to meaning criticism of the government of Israel.
Yep. And that is so like a small percentage.
Yeah, of course. And also like that redefining of that term is in itself anti-Semitic because it is lumping every Jewish person across the world in with frickin' Bibi Netanyahu, scum of the earth. Here's the thing. And I know that you probably haven't heard a lot of stuff about this because we live in America and this kind of information is literally being censored from us. Not everyone in Israel is like Benjamin Netanyahu. There's a lot of people who are protesting him from within Israel. I mean, Israel has a lot of places that are socially progressive. There's a lot of cities. It sucks right now because any attempt to be nuanced and criticize what is genocide, what is the eradication of a people, the attempt to completely remove them from the face of the earth, any attempt to point that out by one side, by the side that is historically super Nazi-ish, is being called anti-Semitic. So it's really, really confusing for the average person to even understand what to think when someone says, oh, I'm Jewish in America right now. So I don't know, like, I think it's really scary right now because it's kind of like, if you've ever seen, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, but the movie Civil War, there's a moment in there where there's the main characters are being held at gunpoint and they say, we're American. And the guy with the gun says, what kind of American are you? And like, we're getting there.
Yep.
Being held at gunpoint, being asked, what kind are you? And we already are there for some people.
And like, I'm sure like there's such like anti-American sentiment, or I'm sure globally.
Oh my God, it's at record peaks.
Yeah, and like I
not hearing much about it here in the States though.
No, and like I'm sure the same is true for us, right? Like obviously there are some progressive cities. People do not agree with like our current administration. Obviously, there's a lot of opposition, and so we have to again. There's universality. Like we're not all very different. Like a lot of these things are very, very similar to each other. So like if there are progressive people and people who are opposing the current administration here, the same can be true in Israel.
Right.
And absolutely is, right? But like you said, it's being censored from us, and it makes these very nuanced things seem more black and white.
Right,
and
because that's what makes people comfortable.
And well, not just comfortable, but I think now it's what makes people
take action. Yeah.
On either side of the board. And that's not a great place to be. I mean, I think it's important that things are happening and hopefully better things are coming, but it is like we can't predict tomorrow.
Right.
I don't think anyone anywhere can really predict like what's going to happen tomorrow. And that again fucks with our nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting at, is like all of that is part of the collective trauma, right? All these different things that we have to make sense of and find a place for, and then also somehow go to work and do laundry and buy groceries and do the day-to-day.
Yeah, make the ends meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that also connects back. Anyway. Another group Shall we talk about another group?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Another group that often has experienced collective trauma is combat veterans.
Yes. In fact, a lot of our understanding of trauma, period, comes from the treatment of World War I veterans. If you don't know that bit of history, started off as shell shock, and through decades of refinement, eventually became what is known now as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is something that is, of course, extremely related to collective trauma.
Yeah.
Combat veterans come back having done and witnessed things that are unknowable to the general public, truly like feeling emotions that are largely unknowable to the general public. And there's not a ton of resources for them. In fact, like a lot of people, well, I'm not going to say that, but there's a huge amount of, well, let me put it to this way. Why do we celebrate veterans who have a large group of whom have PTSD? Why do we celebrate them with fireworks?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good, I think about that all the time, just how we tend to celebrate with fireworks.
Right, because we don't give a, about veterans. We only care about young armed soldiers who are ready to go jump into a meat grinder for whoever's in charge. That's not supporting the troops. You have to support the troops when they come home.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, like, and you see that. You see this kind of forgottenness or like dismissal of, and more importantly, like this lack of empathy, this lack of wanting to put themselves in that person's shoes, because I'm sure it's hard. I'm sure it's hella hard. I'm sure it's even inconceivable, but like attempting to do that again is going to bridge a gap.
Yes.
Right? We want to reintegrate anybody in these marginalized communities, back into our society, including our combat veterans who like go day to day, probably thinking and experiencing very different things than you and I do. Mm-hmm. And, we have to bridge that gap.
Yeah. It's really wild. Like, I mean, think of every veteran you've ever met. Are most of them living like at the poverty line or below?
Yeah.
For me, it's literally every veteran I've ever met.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's for all of the performative support the troops garbage, this community has been left
forgotten.
Yeah.
Completely
out to dry. Mm-hmm. What else?
We lastly have like just the collective trauma of 2025.
I have a lot of other ones too.
Sure. Do you want to share them?
Sure. I mean, we can do last of 2025, but I just want to say it's not the last one.
Yeah. Okay. That is, I mean, we already touched on it quite a bit, but I mean, I think since the new administration took office, it's been pretty turbulent for many, many people. Again, regardless of where you're at and what side you find yourself on, I think everyone can agree it has felt scary. Mm-hmm. I again, just like the unpredictability of what to expect tomorrow or next year or whatever else, like your healthcare, your job, your housing, your food, like whether
publicly funded programs that have been, or federally funded programs that have been helping you for decades.
Yeah. Gone. Like, so it is a little extra in everyone's bag. And the thing about collective trauma too, especially like when someone makes the effort or has also experienced it, is like there's some relief in knowing like I don't have to justify or explain my emotions.
Yes, this person gets it. I don't have to give them my whole backstory.
And like there's so much relief in that.
That's why group therapy is so beneficial.
Truly. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. Can I give another couple examples? People who are currently incarcerated or formerly incarcerated. In our country, people have this very black and white view of like, if you are in prison or if you've been to prison, you're a bad person no matter what, end of sentence, right? But we also know that a lot of people are put in prison for garbage reasons that should not exist. Mm-hmm. Like a huge percentage of the prison population is in there because of their racial identity. I mean, that end of list, right?
End of list. Probably gender.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Especially like black men is what I'm talking about. But like, you can't, those two things can't be true. Like if you know that so many people are wrongfully incarcerated, you have to also hold space for like people coming out of prison. Like, you don't know them.
Yeah.
You don't know somebody just because they went to prison, because guess what? Your impression of prison is based on TV.
And also, let's not forget too that like having been incarcerated at any point in your life also revokes certain rights.
Yes. Some crimes you can't vote anymore in some states.
Exactly. You know, and
for some crimes you get sentenced to literal labor in a field for a farm. It's slavery. And people don't give a shit. Okay, no, not everyone. I say that because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, yes, and fair. It does feel like that.
But like when people are talking about inclusivity, they always leave out incarcerated people and formerly incarcerated people, and they always leave out people living in poverty or people who are unhoused.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Because why are we all so afraid of becoming homeless?
Yeah.
Because what happens when you become homeless? I mean,
ostracized completely.
If you freaking survive, like, it's a death sentence in America.
It's a very hostile environment for people who are unhoused.
Yeah, like, it's scary because, like, there are so few programs and the ones that exist are being taken away, and it's garbage. And, like, that trauma, like, is, of course, generational. You know, the people who are like, are fortunate enough to escape that situation, like, that trauma, of course, like when they are their own children and stuff, like generations of just, it just has an impact.
Yep.
There's so many people in our country who are just completely unsupported, walking without a safety net on a tightrope. And like
on a tightrope,
paycheck to paycheck, and it's getting worse.
It's getting so much worse, literally. And like, I've been practicing for 10-ish, almost 10 years now. In the last 5 years, I have noticed such a huge intake, and this is private pay clients or private insurance clients, or like, I'm not working in like community mental health where you have like Medicaid clients or like people who are already in lower economic status. But like in these private pay situations where like, or in these private insurance situations where like a majority of my conversations continue to be like fear of finance, fear of tomorrow, fear of like having healthcare, insurance, whatever.
Right. And even if you do have insurance or something, that it gets changed so that it doesn't cover anything.
It's astronomically expensive, regardless of whether you have a premium or not. Like, it's just, it's deflating, especially working in the healthcare field where I firmly believe that care should be accessible, and that's a huge part of what we try to do here is try to make care as accessible as possible. But it's so demoralizing and so deflating when you are working with insurance companies that just don't give a shit about the client and don't give a shit about you as the clinician either.
Right. All they care about is their bag.
And their bag is fat.
And the less they help you, the bigger their bag is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to go into like what we've had to go through with paying private insurance as independent, like self-employed people.
We basically we paid basically $12,000 to not have insurance this year.
Basically. Yeah, we paid $12,000 to say we had insurance that did nothing.
Yeah, that was supposedly accepted by a number of places in our area, and I'm sure that this is not a unique situation. I'm sure there's lots of people who feel this way. That when we called them, they say, "Oh no, we don't take that anymore. That's a really bad insurance." Until we get to the point where literally the only place that will take us is like a VA 45 minutes away that has like an unbelievable wait and no coverage for specialists, and it's crazy out there.
And I know like that's a unique experience. I know that there are so many other experiences, especially with like families who actually have health concerns and need consistent treatment or expensive surgeries. It's like everyone, like you said, everyone's on a tightrope hoping that that doesn't happen to them.
Yes, we're all like one slip away. Not all of us, obviously, but like
Sometimes
most of us.
I think a lot of us have experienced a moment in where they feel that way.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know that because I have these conversations with people in our community, and I know they feel that. I know I feel that. But should we talk about some hope? Because
in fact, I think maybe we should take a break for a second. Grateful.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. You first.
Me first. I'm actually really grateful for vibe therapy services.
I think you've used that before.
I don't think so.
How many different, you've done your clients, you've done your job, now you're doing vibe therapy services.
I didn't do my job. I did my clients for sure.
Are you confident about
Yeah, but I'm really excited about, I have not talked about our business.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Just because it's become a platform for a lot of other fun ventures and ways for us to connect with the community or make a difference. And it's just been really, really cool and exciting. Like, we're part of a DEI committee. Yep. We're part of, educating our community on some of these things, providing services and resources. On top of like creative outlets, I'm a very creative person, and it's just a nice outlet to like pour into this business sometimes and make something special for it. And yeah, we have a lot of things happening over here, and it's very exciting, and we have a lot coming to you in 2026.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, that is exciting. I'm very grateful for that too.
Yeah.
My second little grateful is our neighbors behind us, so Wally and Joan.
Aww.
They're never going to hear this, but they're really nice older folks, and we got a chance to talk to them a few times over the last week, just like randomly, and it's just, they're just nice, and they're so nice to our daughter, and it's just nice to have nice neighbors.
Yeah, it really is, and I've really enjoyed getting to know them too. Today is their 60th anniversary.
Today, as we're recording this, yeah.
So that's super cool, and Amari calls them
Grandma and Grandpa.
Grandma and Grandpa.
Grandma and Grandpa back there.
Uh-huh. It's really cool, to take care of our neighbors.
Yeah.
And like to get to know our neighbors, to have the opportunity to care for our neighbors. And I've really loved to see you do that.
Yeah, I like doing it. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, I'm feeling better.
Me too. Honestly, wow, that really
You're
helps.
a therapist. You can't sound surprised.
It's just like sometimes, like you're not great at always taking your own advice, but like when you do it in practice, you're like, wow, I forgot that like taking a few good deep breaths and like finding something you're grateful for can really elevate your spirit. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about some good stuff. How to do some stuff.
Yeah.
So we talked about the importance of community. Creating a safe space in your community is incredibly important. Shared experiences, like a support group, a cultural community center, or even just like you find a group of friends who have like similar enough background that you can validate each other, like that's amazing for your mental health.
So huge.
Yeah.
I've talked about my knitting group before, like my online knitting group. And like, that's like an online, it's a small group, like it's so wonderful. It took off again recently, and I just am so grateful for those ladies.
Yeah.
Can I talk a little bit about narrative building?
I would love for you to talk about it.
Because narrative building is actually, or like even narrative therapy, I think is a very good way to access and address our trauma. Telling our story can be super powerful. Like even just telling the story to yourself, writing it down, acknowledging that it happened, is incredibly powerful in healing some of those wounds. But it also creates this creates this sense of universality again, right? Like if you tell your story, it's an opportunity for someone else to relate to that, and vice versa, for them to share their story, right? Yeah. And you can relate to that. So telling your story, again, is very, very helpful. There's so many different ways and where you can tell your story.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does it have to be written?
No, I mean, that is definitely one way. It can be spoken. It can be written about in a song. It can be expressed through art, cool. Through conversation. There's just so, and I think that's where you do see a lot of expression of our story, our experience, you know, and it can be so beautiful, you know, like so cool to see. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I love that idea. The idea of like working through it through art. I mean, there's a reason why people say art is so cathartic.
Yeah. Well, and even like art is therapeutic, both viewing art and creating art. So I think this is exactly that, right? Narrative therapy, the act of creating, let's say, a song that resonates with many people is therapeutic in and of itself, but for so many people who are listening to that song is also very therapeutic, you know? So the same is true for any type of art. And it's a form of connection, you know? How often have we talked about connection being a bridge to so many things, or a core pillar to so many things, especially our mental health? So yeah, explore some narrative therapy, you know, tell your story to someone, tell the story to yourself. I think an aspect to narrative therapy or narrative building is like this idea of like witnessing and like
witness me,
like honoring that, like, this happened to you. This is the pain that we experienced. This is, you know, the outcomes that happened, how it impacted our lives. All those things are, I think, very important. And I think lead into this next bit of like rituals and like commemoration. Because I think a lot of the times in telling our story, we might feel this need to commemorate in some way.
Humans love rituals.
We do. And I often recommend, usually I recommend that with like miscarriages, of like some sort of ritual, ceremony, like acknowledgement of like, this happened to you, right? This is the experience that happened. You can talk about it. And that's another thing about narrative therapy too, or even just like creating a ritual or whatever, is like, it's a little easier than to talk about it. You know, when miscarriages are a very good example where like most people who've had miscarriages, I think, struggle to talk about it because they don't know how to talk about it, right? It's like I like naming, you know, the baby you lost, or having like a ceremony can just make it a little easier for you to talk about it to someone else, to tell your story to someone else, and can be very, very powerful. And can soften some of the grief or some of the pain that we experience. You know, I think rituals really act as a form of like just honoring the fact that we experience this pain. Think of like people who go to like visit a gravestone like on a certain date or something like that. Or people who, I mean, I've known people who do all kinds of stuff like that. Like they go and they bring a folding chair and a beer to their dad's stone, and they just sit there for a little while and commune, you know? And I think that like when you get to that point of pain or trauma or grief, dare I say, you might find some like gratitude in those feelings, you know, and recognizing that like this deep pain or grief meant that I cared a lot about this person, that I miss them a lot right now. But yeah, I think when we start to view it that way, it might be nice to honor that or like make space for that, you know? I think about the movie Inside Out when, what's his name?
Which one?
I keep wanting to say Bojangles. It's not Bojangles.
Bing Bong.
Bing Bong. When Bing Bong is sad and sadness comes up and she like makes space for that feeling, and he felt better.
Oh my gosh, that scene makes me cry.
Yeah, of course.
That movie gets me.
Yeah, no, it gets me too. And I think because it's so true, you know, I think we all experience these quote unquote negative emotions that I think we all try to avoid or dismiss or forget about. And the moment we make space for it and honor it in some way, witness it in some way, it just softens the blow. It makes it easier. It makes it, I don't know. Again, it's like, it's integrated a little bit more.
I just had a thought. Is Inside Out basically Internal Family Systems, the movie?
It does kind of feel that way. You know, I have thought of that. I have thought about like how there are these different parts of us, but like
there's different islands, there's different emotions personified. Like they all have different roles. They all have different voices.
Yep.
And people like, I mean, if you identify with that movie, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I would probably be piloted by this emotion or whatever, you know, like if you find yourself like interested in that, you should look into IFS or parts work because it really is like that for you.
Yep. I mean, it is. And I think too, the reason why it is because like IFS is so intuitive.
Yeah.
You know, I think it can easily apply to a lot of things. So whether you viewed it that way or not, it definitely applies.
Yeah. It's a cool movie.
Yeah.
That's my third little grateful is for the movie Inside Out.
All right. So how do we overcome some obstacles?
Well, I would say like if you are in a situation where you don't have a community or like a person to talk to or a way to get your feelings validated, I would say step one is to like seek that out. Whether it's like a therapist or a support group. I mean, some support groups, you can find free support groups or support groups that cost money too. But like just anything to like validate the experience with other people, just not feeling alone is such a powerful like factor for growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Universality is one of those pillars in group therapy for that exact reason, right? The act of being in a group provides this sense of universality.
Yeah.
And that really does soften the blow. Micro communities, you know, like I said, if a large community feels too overwhelming, micro communities, small groups, 2 or 3 people, with similar experience might be exactly what you need.
Yeah,
Again, it doesn't
a couple buddies who get it.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a ton of people as long as like you're feeling validated, you're feeling like you're not alone, and like someone's witnessing your story or your experience. That's a huge, huge benefit.
Yeah. And I would say another important thing that you can try to do, and I would, from personal experience, I find this fascinating, but identifying your identity or different intersections of your identity and researching generational trauma on that identity in America and just learning and just absorbing it and seeing if it is affecting your life, if it is playing out in ways that like people have experienced before. And within that community, you may find resources or even just ideas, tips, just anything to help out.
Educating yourself is always going to be a good thing, you know, like whether it's that's educating yourself on like your own personal background or history, or on someone else's, you know, it's never going to be wrong. We understand that. That's what part of this podcast is to like provide free access to some educational things, so that y'all have a starting point. We really want to make it easy for people to like engage with their own identities, with their mental health, with their journeys, with what they want.
Especially when it comes to like identifying your own trauma. Trauma is one of those things like a weed where like if you just pluck the weed, like you just chop off the top of it, the weed is still there. You have to get the roots out if you want the weed to be gone. And trauma, I mean, you can't get rid of trauma in the same way that you can with a weed, but when we're talking about like processing trauma, you have to get to the root of it. Otherwise, not to mix my metaphors, but it's just a Band-Aid. Yeah. You know, Band-Aids don't treat anything. They just give you a moment of not having to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do recognize that getting to that root can be challenging.
Like the hardest work you could ever go through in therapy.
Therapy is hard. And so like, just know, like, again, we are very aware of that. We as in like me, my clinicians, the clinicians that work at Vibe, like, and
me
and
Corey
and you, Corey, and a lot of other, like my therapist colleagues, I think recognize that, you know, that we try to meet people where they're at in their journeys, regardless of where they're at. And there's no judgment, you know, like we all start somewhere. So the important thing is that we do start.
Yeah. we want to thank everybody for joining us for this talk about collective trauma. This was an important one for us. We've been wanting to talk about this for a long time. And we just really appreciate y'all listening to the podcast. If you want to support us, if you think that what we're doing is cool or worthwhile, please tell somebody about us, because like that's literally the only way that more than 10 people will ever listen to this podcast is if you tell somebody that it exists.
And now you can follow us on Instagram.
We have a new Instagram page. There's only a couple posts up there right now, but please follow us, because we'll post not just highlights from episodes, but we'll also post behind the scenes pictures and pictures of us at going to events and stuff like that. Anything that we talk about on the show that needs like a visual aid. All that kind of stuff.
So follow us at
purplefriendspodcast.com. That's also our email. If you want to email us a question or a comment or whatever you want, you just want to say hi, purplefriendspodcast@gmail.com.
Cool.
That's it. I've been Co.
I've been Jo.
And this has been Purple Friends.
Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Love you.
Purple Friends is an independent podcast produced by Vibe Therapy Services and is not a substitute for a session with a real therapist.
Our show art was created by me, Jocelyn Lang.
And our theme music is Nature Nurture by me, The Implied Bear.
Vibe Therapy is an Illinois-based private practice servicing clients in person at our Wheaton office and virtually throughout the state of Illinois.
We accept Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, Aetna, and Cigna Insurance. We also offer cash pay rates, financial assistance, and free 15-minute initial consultations where you can get a feel for our practice.
Think of it as a vibe check. Therapy doesn't have to feel clinical. Visit vibetherapyservices.com today to see if we vibe.